Welcome to Champ Talk with Branden Hudson. I am your host, Branden Hudson. We have a very, very special guest here today, and you know me, because I don't ever get anything right when I'm supposed to recite it. I better freestyling, so to speak. I'm going to make sure that I say this correctly. But yes, this episode, this special holiday special episode is brought to you by the 2024 Pat Briscoe Memorial Holiday Wrestling Classic that's going to be held at Parkside High School. This is December 20th and 21st. The reason why this episode is sponsored by that, because we have a very special guest who's putting that on. SBY MMA Fitness has had a chance to sit there and sponsor it, be a part of it, and we're really excited. So I wanted to introduce everybody to Parkside's wrestling head coach, Burt Cashman. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Guys, if you get value out of this episode, or if you know someone who will, or you want to just support the cause, please like, subscribe, share, comment, give us feedback, tell us all the things, you know what I mean? Especially on Apple iTunes or Apple Podcast, getting us a review back then gets us to the top of feed so everyone can hear about Champ Talk with Branden Hudson, and we can deliver value for our community. So Burt, man, welcome to the show, man. For all purposes, everyone, I was here training, doing our thing, I guess, 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah, it was a few months ago.
Yep, you stopped by and you introduced yourself and wanted to kind of piggyback a seminar that we'd had, a workshop, so to speak, with Carter. I always mess his name. Storaci.
Yes.
Yep. Outstanding wrestling phenomenon.
Yeah.
You brought him down. Introduced yourself. I think that we kind of hit it off pretty well with our conversation, in the beginning, and talked about that. And then now here we go. Here we are pushing a few months later, talking about, doing some stuff together with, or us being able to support each other with the Holiday Classic. So tell us about that wrestling tournament.
So this will be the 55th year.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This will be the 55th annual Parkside Holiday Wrestling Tournament. But this year is going to be unique because as many people in the wrestling community might know, Pat Briscoe passed away this past summer. He passed away. It was only fitting to rename the tournament after him, because he's the one who actually started the tournament. Mm-hmm. He started it back in 1968 at Bennett High School. He was the head coach at Bennett. And then he came over to Parkside as the head coach in 1975 and brought the tournament with him. So essentially it's been going on since 1968. And then so obviously, we renamed it, instead of it being the Parkside Holiday Wrestling Tournament, it's now the Pat Briscoe Memorial Holiday Wrestling Tournament at Parkside High School.
Awesome. So I remember, I never got a chance to meet him, but I remember, his passing and just the amount of outreach and love that he had throughout the community. Of so many kids had wrestled for him and so many people that coached along with him. And he was a staple in this area in the wrestling community.
Yeah. So, at the beginning of the season, it was really interesting that we had a lot of people reach out that really wanted to help out. People that were alumni, and people wanted to donate money and and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And because we're dedicating this season to Pat as well, not only renaming the tournament permanently, but we're dedicating the season to him. And there was just a lot of people that reached out to me, and, they were very appreciative, telling me how much he meant to them. And, they wanted to donate money to the tournament, to the season, that sort of thing. So it was very nice. But yeah, I mean, Coach Briscoe he's in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, so that speaks for itself right there. Yeah. He's in the Maryland chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. So he definitely made an impact in the wrestling community, not only locally, but statewide as well.
Wow.
So,
yeah, that's a humbling experience when, you sit next to someone so great, and then, the unfortunate, but I guess fortunate, I don't want to say benefit, but privilege to get the calls from, I say that because I remember when my grandmother passed away. My grandmother was a very humble lady, if there was anything that was really attributed to the Branden Hudson personal development coaching side of me, would be my grandmother, right? She was my person. She was sweet as it could be, cuss you out in a minute. You know what I mean? Just one of those, you know, and when she passed, you know, I was kind of in charge of all her funeral arrangements and things like that. And I was getting phone calls from people, you know, I mean, a lot of old timers, a lot of people I never expected.
Yeah.
And, you know somebody because you're close to them, how great they are, but it's always a different aspect and perspective when you hear from other people, especially other people that are like maybe more older than you, more respected than you, less either way. And that was a very humbling moment for me. So I can only imagine probably the same for you in that regards.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I mean, I've had a chance to know, you know, Pat, over the last couple of years. I mean, I took over the program 10 years ago, and he had been helping out a little bit when Jeff Thamer and Jeff Malcolm were the previous head coaches. They were co-head coaches, and I took over for them. And so I got to know Pat a little bit, you know, when he was helping out, you know, with them. He was retired, and he was sort of like stepping away from the sport, you know, altogether and stuff, but he would still come in and help out every once in a while.
Out of love for it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, it's always in your blood.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got to know him, you know, a little bit through that. And you could just tell, you know, like there were so many people that he impacted over the years, and you could just tell through that, you know, as well. And
what do you think was the, you know, one of the biggest attributes that he taught you and that you took from him and your, you know, being wrestling next to him and in that space and so forth in the coaching space? What do you think you learned the most from him?
Well, I think standards and expectations, you know, I think that's probably one of the biggest things, you know, just there. Now, of course, you know, wrestling to me, that he was, you know, of course he coached in the 70s, 80s, and, you know, in the 90s. So wrestling to me, I feel like was a little bit different back then than it is now. Sure. Obviously you didn't have social media, you know, you didn't have, like, life was just different, you know, but from what I've heard and understood about him is that his standards and his expectations, you know, as a coach were high, you know, and he had some teams and some individuals that were just studs, you know. I mean, Steve Kidwell comes to mind. He's a three-time state place winner. He got first, second, and third when he wrestled for, you know, for Pat. And, but even his teams, I know they placed third in the state one of those years. I think it was 81, maybe. It was early 80s. And this is back when Maryland kept team score in the individual state tournament, but they placed third, you know, which is not easy to do.
No, not at all.
You know, so you got to have some hammers, you know, on your team to do that. And but anyway, and again, you know, I just go back to him being selected into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. That in itself is a huge accomplishment, and you don't get that to that point without, you know, having some standards and expectations of yourself as a coach.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So,
now I did some research, and to my understanding, you have been awarded a couple of awards yourself. If I've got the information handy, I think you were awarded. Looks like maybe you can find it better than me. I had it here. I saw two of them that you had received.
Yeah. So recently, a couple years ago, it was the Service to Wrestling Award, the MPSSAA Service to Wrestling Award, yeah. I mean, I you know, I'm very honored to receive that. I mean, I've let me think here. I've been coaching wrestling for 28 years, 28 years total. And so I coached up in Pennsylvania, where I'm originally from. I coached up there for 11 years.
Which is an entirely different culture.
Oh, it is a totally different animal. Yeah, it's a totally different animal. And I mean, I say that to people all the time, but you just don't understand unless you've actually grown up there, you know, unless you've actually lived there and you've, you know, eat, sleep, and breathe wrestling, you know.
Yes, sir.
But I was up there for 11 years coaching at Mechanicsburg High School, and then 5 years as a head coach, 6 years as an assistant. I came down here, and I was 3 years as an assistant at Caesar Rodney High School in Delaware, which they're good now. They were really good back then. They were actually nationally ranked the 1 year that I was on the staff, and then I've been at Parkside really for 14 years, 4 years as an assistant, as a volunteer assistant, and then 10 years as a head coach. So I guess combining all of that, and the clinics that I host, Aaron Brooks, Carter Srirachi, like bringing these Penn State guys down, Levi Haynes, Mitchell Messenbrink, and then my involvement with Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Association, the MAWA tournament over at the Civic Center, which is right next door. I guess some of my peers have noticed all that, and they nominated me for the Service to Wrestling Award, and so I received that through MPSSAA.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah. One of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show, obviously I'm a coach, and I've owned SBY for 10 years now. Been in the MMA business and MMA world for 15. Man, I tell you, man, I've produced a couple of champions. We've won some stuff, man. When I sit next to guys like you, guys like Homer, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. Some of my mentors and the coaches I look up to. I'm like, I feel like such a small little smidge in it. You know what I mean? Because, I really didn't have that structure, so to speak, coming into this. You know what I mean? Because the MMA world was very new, especially to our area. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was like very uncommon. There's been a lot of BJJ versus wrestling for years, and now I think in the past 5 to 10 years we've seen such a merge of the two. I got a couple of my students over there wrestling for you now.
Yeah.
And the most dominant MMA fighters have a strong wrestling base. Right now you're seeing the Dagestani wrestling base just really dominate.
Yep.
And so for me, if it's, I always love to be around, and I'm gonna give you some flowers real quick. I know you're probably a humble guy. I know you're a humble guy, and you're not gonna receive them well, but greatness. You know what I mean? I always envision. You got 28 years in the game, right? What I've always learned is, and this doesn't apply to all across the board, but in general sense, it takes 10 years to become an expert in something. It takes 20 to be a master in something, to have mastery level. You know what I mean? 28 years as a coach, you have done some really great things. I'm assuming probably not always the greatest things.
Yeah, it hasn't been,
But one thing you've done is you've been able to learn so much from your own standards that we talk about and the things that you've done. You know what I mean? And for me, it's just like, you don't pass up opportunities to have conversations like that. You don't pass up opportunities to sit with someone who's been in a coaching space, seen thousands of kids come through their wrestling room, been to thousands of tournaments, thousands of hours. It's not a very rewarding job. We're not making the most money. You see kids that have massive amount of talent, and then next year they just quit, or they get involved in stuff like that. You pour into so many, there's so much. So for me, that was one of the biggest reasons that I wanted to have you on here, is because, I knew the kind of depths of a coach that you were, and I've heard about your reputation and the things like that. What do you think would be, we talked about, Coach Briscoe. How about yourself? You know what I mean? What is your, core values when it comes to how you coach in the room, or what is the things that you set apart yourself from, maybe the other coaches, or just in general, what do you pride yourself on?
Yeah. That's a really good question. And I guess I was kind of waiting for you to say, what has kept you ticking this whole time?
Well, coach to coach, I know what's kept you ticking, and that's your love for the game.
Yeah. And I mean, it's, I don't know. I've been blessed with a lot of motivation, internal motivation, internal drive, and I guess I get it from my dad. I don't know where I get it from, but I just, have always, I've always been into coaching and into helping out others. And I think that's really, when it comes down to it, like if I had to really sit down and think about, like what is it that drives me, and that's just, really just generally helping others get better. You know what I mean? I mean, that can be in a lot of different ways.
Yes, sir.
You know, it could be in their personal life, it could be in their athletic life, you know, but just having kids learn about the value of goals, you know, setting goals for themselves and working to accomplish those goals, and getting kids to understand that you're not going to be handed everything in life. And that's one of the things that I like the most about wrestling in general is, and just any combat sport, you know, is that you're never given anything, you know, and everything that you get, you're earning through getting to practices regularly, you know, waking up over the holidays. We have holiday practices in the morning, you know, waking up early, going to practice for, you know, for those couple hours of, you know, being there and sacrificing time away from family and, you know, and all that stuff. In the off season, doing the open mats, doing the Penn State camp, you know, doing tournaments and all that. And I just really, really enjoy seeing kids, accomplish their goals, you know, get better, grow, and develop. Like I tell my kids all the time, honestly, and I know it sounds cliche, all right, but I'm not concerned about wins and losses, okay? I'm concerned about, are you coming in and are you putting the effort in every single day in the room, okay? Are you focused every single day in the room? And are you committed? You know, I mean, again, those are values that every generation needs to understand,
Yes,
you know,
sir.
and we hear a lot about, you know, like we hear a lot about, oh, this generation, you know, this generation is this or that or whatever. I mean, I think every single generation needs to learn those core values: commitment, dedication, perseverance, and just overcoming, you know, just overcoming adversity. You know, like if you lose, then just tough it out and get better.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it's not the end of the world. But you know, again, I really enjoy seeing kids get better and develop. And I tell my kids all the time, you don't have to eat, sleep, and breathe wrestling like I do. Okay. But if you're going to be a part of my program, I at least want an element of commitment, you know, and dedication, and you know, being at practices regularly, being at tournaments as you're supposed to be at regularly. And then obviously dual meets are, you know, that's a non-negotiable.
Sure.
Like every, you know, but those type of things, I think are all transferable life skills, you know, because when you get into the military, okay, how many of these kids are going to go in the military? Probably a lot. Okay. When you get into a trade, how many of these kids are going to get into a trade? Probably a lot.
Yeah.
All right. When you get into any kind of job or anything that you do after high school, you have to do those. You have to transfer those skills over. You have to be committed. You have to be dedicated because your kids are counting on you bringing that paycheck home.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? It's things like that. Like that's as real as it gets to me. You know, you talk about learning experiences, like, you know, forget about math, science, social studies, and English.
Yeah.
Like those are things right there that are real life skills, perseverance, commitment, dedication, all those things that really change lives.
I agree.
You know,
As I do these podcasts, I can't help but have these moments in my head where when there's some nuggets being dropped, some golden gems being shared, the reels that are going to come up on that. And what you just said, brother, is just like so many gems all in one, on your passion on why you do coaching. And, you know, I have so many high school wrestling and former boxing guys that want to come in and help out and coach. Right. And I appreciate that. Right. But this isn't your after school football program, you know, at the boys club, or this is more dialed in as far as, you know, we have a process, we have a program, we have a system, we have a process here. We have certain elements and things that we require. That's for every single person in SBY. That's not for just the kids or the students. That's for the parents, the sponsors, the supporters, and the coaches. We hold them all to a higher standard. And if what I'm hearing you say is you're not coaching these kids wrestling.
Yeah.
Wrestling is the vessel to personal development.
Yeah.
You're coaching these kids to life skills, to things that are going to transfer them later on in life. It just happens to be wrestling is the vessel that does that.
It's through wrestling.
Yes,
yeah.
Yep.
The way that, you know, the way that I look at it, you know, myself, and I don't even know if I really 100%, you know, I probably indirectly sent this message to the kids, but I don't know if I've directly said to them literally, "Hey, we're teaching you life skills through wrestling," but that's what it is.
100%.
You know, like you're teaching kids life skills through the sport of wrestling, and you know,
one of the things, not to cut you off, but one of the things that I think is the most important and impactful part about doing wrestling or any other combat sport, especially when you're competing, that this is the most valuable, probably one of the most valuable attributes that gets overlooked so much, in my opinion. We need that. You need that student, that kid to lose.
Yeah.
They need to learn how to lose.
Yep.
They need to learn what disappointment feels like.
Yeah.
Their parents, most parents, especially today's generation. Now we can talk about generations. We were all that generation.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But you know, we have seen a shift with the digital world now, and just the kind of things that we're seeing. And the parents need to learn how to lose.
Yeah.
You know, the parents need to learn how to be listen, one of my things that I say to our parents, especially in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? You know, kickboxing, boxing, that's one aspect. But on those mats, you know, they say, you know, you're going to find out who you really are. You could probably attest to this. You can tell by the way that the kid wrestles or the person wrestles probably what kind of behavioral traits and personality traits they have.
Yeah.
You know, I can always tell who the bully is.
Yeah.
The guy that's rougher with smaller people or women, you know what I mean? But then when somebody bigger comes up on them, they cower and they kind of submit easily and tap out easily. I can always tell about the type A personalities, right? Who's got to have everything perfect and right. So they're hesitant on everything because they're trying to calculate opposed to just letting it flow.
Yeah.
You could tell a lot about somebody on the mats. And one of the things that helps build more than anything for not only the student, but the parent is the loss.
Yes.
Losing. I tell the parents all the time, hey, I don't want no cheering and coaching on the sideline. This is my world, right? Thank you. But this isn't football. This isn't soccer. This isn't basketball. That's that world. Here, I promise you that Johnny's trying to get up.
Yeah.
I promise you Johnny's trying to do everything you're telling Johnny to do. Johnny needs you to be that soft pillow.
Yeah.
Let me be the hard coach. Let me and my guys and gals do our job. You just be supportive, and then start building dialogue. Hey, what would you rate your practice performance today? Yeah. Hey, what would you rate your thing today? Hey, how did you feel about what you know, that's what's going to get that kid's buy-in so much. We have so many people, so many parents that they think their kid's being weak, and and it's not that they're doing this malicious, in my opinion. There are those parents. But I think those parents are so fearful of their kid, you know, not doing their best and making the family look bad and then wasting their time, that they're pushing their kid away from the sport, opposed to, you know, being that soft pillow, being that supportive figure. Let me and us do our job with being hard on them. You know, you guys just get that dialogue started. Start asking them thought-provoking questions about their performance, about what they thought, about what they saw, and open that door to get their defense down. So then you can provide your feedback as a parent.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna throw a couple of things in, you know, just about my observations over the years as far as family dynamics and parents, you know, and that sort of thing is concerned. And one of the things that is concerning to me is, so you were talking about, you know, you have that parent who, you know, is trying to coach on the sideline, you know, whatever, and their kid needs to learn how to lose. Honestly, I mean, unfortunately, and it's sad, there are sometimes I don't even see these kids' parents.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
And that's a whole other dynamic that goes into it. But it's a whole other reason why these kids need sports.
Yes, sir.
They need wrestling. Okay. You know, I tell kids all the time, you know, you need to wrestle more than wrestling needs you.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Like there's, and it's just, it is what it is, you know, and you have to learn as a coach, you have to learn how to navigate that field. But that is definitely one thing that's a big dynamic that I have seen. And it's a big dynamic from when I coached at the school that I coached at in PA, where a lot of those kids, their parents were involved. And some of them were involved a little bit too much.
Yeah,
of course. They were involved. They felt like they had a little bit too much say.
A little living vicariously through their kid from their glory days.
But I'm in a situation now where, yes, we have good parents. I'm not going to, don't get me wrong. I mean, we have.
But you wish you saw more of them.
But I wish I saw more. Yep. And there are some times where I will not see a kid's parent until senior night. Okay. Gosh. He will be with me for 4 years, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Yep. And then on, what did I say? Parents' night. I meant senior night.
Senior night. Yeah.
And then on senior night is the first time that I've ever seen that kid's parent, or maybe not even on senior night. I've never met that kid's parent, and
a parent would say, look, you don't understand my dynamic. I've got 3 other kids at home. I'm working 2 jobs. I get that. I understand that. That's a fucking excuse, because you're never going to have this again.
Yeah.
You're never going to have 4 years of a kid's schooling. I don't get to go to all of my daughter's games. I don't go to the away games. I go to all the home games.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's tough on the community. My daughter didn't do sports until she got into the 10th grade. Just wasn't interested. Just didn't want to do it. I mean, do karate. You're going to do something. And when she did it, I'm not going to look back and say I chose work or chose other students or other people over my kid.
Yeah, no, and
I've only got it once.
Yeah,
that's what I think that the parents that are going to unfortunately wake up one day and say, "Damn, I missed it."
Yep.
With that for that argument, there's a lot of other layers that we can peel back, and I don't want to get into that too deep.
And again, I mean, for me, it's you get to build relationships with the kids, and you learn a little bit about their backgrounds and all that stuff. And I don't really, honestly, I don't really feel very comfortable like diving too deep into that, with kids, Well,
but, you've got a different barrier there, considering you're in the school system.
Yeah, right.
That's a whole different, animal. And even here we do too. No, I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's a whole different, it's like you're almost forced to not be empathetic at times. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because of the way that society has turned it into.
Yeah, but it's just, it is definitely, it is a hurdle. It is a hurdle that you have to overcome. And, and again, all you can do is really just be there for that kid as much as possible,
And I think your standards also make a big difference. And having that standard, and, to piggyback on what I was saying, I kind of got lost when I was talking, but we talk about these old school, high school, and wrestling that want to be coaches, and boxing guys, because there's a lot of them. There's more than that than any other thing. And that's the part that I don't just let anybody in for that particular reason. Like, dude, you're not sitting here just coaching these kids in combat sports. You're coaching these kids in life skills. When a kid, we don't have them 4 years. We might have them for life. We might have them for 10 years. When a student, whether it's a kid or an adult, get used to your coaching, your teaching, your training, and you're not showing up, or you're in it for 6 months, in it for a year, and you're out, dude, you don't understand that they don't understand the disappointment that member, that student, that kid feels when their favorite coach or their person, the only person in the world saw them is gone now.
Yeah.
And that's why we have such a high standard here of, okay, you want to be a coach? Cool. Get a membership.
Yeah.
Get a membership first. Let's see how you do in a year with your own personal goals and your own personal commitment before we start entering you into the coaching world. Because it is different than, being into a organized program that's, funded by the county or the state or stuff like that. We have a different little world that we have to, and hurdles that we have to, of our own, get over.
Right.
We're running out of time. Talk to me about this tournament real quick. First of all, I love this conversation. It was exactly how I wanted to go, but I got so much more out of it, and I'm getting to understand your brain and your mind a little bit better, and I hope our listeners and viewers are as well, because the coaching aspect really gets overlooked in a lot of areas, and we don't do it for the pat on the back. We don't do it, most of us. Really solid coaches do it for the love of the sport and the love of seeing people progress and seeing people become the best they become. Because out of the 1,000 wrestlers or 1,000 of MMA students that we have, you're going to have 1 or 2 that are really going to go to the highest level and stuff like that. It's not about that for us. We'd love to see that. We'd love to ride that, but it's really truly about changing lives. Yeah. But tell us about the tournament. Who's all coming? Which schools are coming? When is it? What time? Give us the rundown. So
first of all, if anybody who is out there listening, if you follow us on social media, it's Parkside Wrestling on Facebook, and then Parkside.wrestling on Instagram. And so I'm like, over the next couple of weeks, I'll be posting updates about the tournament, and that sort of thing. But
what schools are coming?
So I'll start with the date. So first of all, it's Friday and Saturday, December 20th and 21st. All right. Friday is going to run from 3 until 8. And all times are approximate. All right.
Sure.
How that works, but approximately 3 p.m.
So in
to
other
8
words,
p.m.
from 4 till 12. No, just kidding.
And then Saturday is going to be 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay.
All right. So it's an all day thing on Saturday. It's held obviously at Parkside High School. We're doing it on 6 mats. All right. So we're going to do boys and girls varsity. There's girls varsity wrestling now, which is a whole other topic, that we can talk about some other time. But and then JV. So everybody's wrestling. The teams that are coming, let me think if I can, there's 13 teams total. Some of them are local, and then some, are coming from far away. We got obviously Parkside, Snow Hill, Y High, Colonel Richardson, Damascus from Montgomery County, and I believe that's all the Maryland schools. And then we have Delaware schools are Delmar, Laurel, AI DuPont, Woodbridge, and Seaford are the Delaware schools. And then we have a couple Virginia schools, Henrico from Richmond, Virginia, and Arcadia.
Oh, wow.
I think that's 13. I might be missing one in there. But anyway, there's 13 teams. And we have a couple teams that are bringing just their JVs or just their girls. So that would be like Hampton, Virginia, Hampton High School out of Virginia. They're bringing just their girls. Bell Multicultural School out of DC. They're actually bringing a handful of JVs. They reached out to me. So
cool.
DC wrestling is starting to pick up a little bit. So anyway, and then Northeast Anne Arundel is bringing their JV. So we got schools from across the bridge coming. We got schools from, the Hampton, Virginia area, the Eastern Shore of Virginia, even, the Richmond area.
Which is a trek. It's quite the hike,
And then of course schools from Delaware. So we've had schools from PA in the past. Last year was really our toughest tournament. We had Walt Whitman, South Carroll was there last year, and Damascus and Laurel. So it was like all of those Damascus, South Carroll, and Walt Whitman were all in the state finals and the state team duels finals. Laurel was Henlope and South champions. And so we had some really good teams in it last year. This year's tournament is still going to be good.
Yeah.
But
the right recipe was just showed up that year.
It's just, from year to year it changes, but last year was really tough. So,
well, that's awesome.
But
so
it's a lot of fun.
Open to the public. Anybody can come.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So
spectator fee. What's that?
we have a 2-day pass. That's usually, our most popular pass. And I believe that's like $20 or $25 for both days.
Can they get them at the door? Is there a QR code? How does that work?
There's a QR code.
Okay.
It's GoFan. All right. If anybody out there is familiar with GoFan, and all this is going to be again posted on social media, on and you can also see it on the Parkside High School athletics page. They'll be posting that information as well. And
we have a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs that listen to this podcast. If they wanted to say just contribute, or if there was some sort of way that they could, give a donation, maybe potential sponsorship of some sort. I know we're a little late in the game to kind of get like the table and stuff like that, but if there was some way that somebody was interested in contributing, how would they go about that? Well,
just contact me, really.
Great.
They can just contact me. Do people usually put their cell number out there? I don't.
It's up to you, but this is going across the world. Listen, we got 66 subscribers and 17,000 listens. I don't know if that's good or not.
All right, maybe I won't put. Yeah, okay. I won't.
We'll just contact you through digital.
Yes,
but yes. Give us that handle again. That Instagram.
So
and Facebook.
So Facebook is Parkside High School Wrestling, and then Instagram is parkside.wrestling.
Okay. And if anybody's got any questions, obviously hit up Champ Talk. We'll make sure we get to the right channels. But man, I tell you what, this has been a great show, man. I got everything I wanted out of it. I wish we had more time, but I can speak for myself, and I'm sure countless people, man. Thank you so much for what you've done for the community, what you continue to do. I know as a coach, and I obviously, again, I think that I got a long ways to go before I'm on, a guy like yours level, but I know as a coach how much we pour into and put into, to make our passions and everyone else's dreams come true, how much you do that no one sees, you know what I mean? So if it matters to you, I recognize it. I appreciate that. I'm very, very passionate about my community, and I was a Wahai guy, so I'm very passionate about this area. I've seen a lot of ups and downs from here. I've seen a lot of good times and bad times, and I do think we're starting to kind of get around that corner where we're really starting to grow this area and grow a lot, and guys like yourself and other people that have just sacrificed and given so much to their crafts and to this community are greatly appreciated. So thank you so much for coming on this show and sharing some of your insight. I think it was very valuable and a lot of gems that you dropped today.
Yeah. I appreciate you having me on here. I was looking forward to this. I had it written down. I was, pretty excited about, I wasn't really sure, what this is my first time ever doing a podcast, but yeah, again, I guess just to the listeners out there, how Branden and I met up, was talking about the Carter Sirachi Clinic way back, a couple months ago, and I appreciate the fact that he recognized that you recognized, the connection there, between MMA, wrestling, and obviously how that whole thing has transpired over the years, and you making a donation and all that stuff and building a relationship, so hopefully we, keep this thing going and just help these kids, help these kids out, help these kids accomplish their goals and keep them off the streets and doing good stuff. That's Absolutely. What it's all about.
Yeah. So, I want to have you on again, because I want to talk more MMA wrestling and stuff like that. But I thought this was a great segue. Well, thanks again, guys. That'll do it for this episode of Champ Talk with Branden Hudson. Again, if you got value out of this, somebody who would, like, subscribe, share it, comment, give us a review. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on our YouTube channel, we're on Facebook, we're everywhere. So we'd love to hear back from you guys, and it's been a great honor. And be sure to check out that the Pat Briscoe wrestling tournament here coming up next week. I believe December 20th, 21st. Check it out. You got all the information. But we thank you again. What are you guys doing to become a champion?